the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it is 10:12 Metro Borough Council meeting. We'll start as always with citizens wishing to address council.
First thing,
No.
I have cold symptoms and I had laryngitis symptoms, but I did test negative for COVID. So while I'm not in good voice, other than some cold symptoms from over the weekend and a raspy throat. I just wanted, in the interest of public safety, I tested negative.
Right.
I also need to announce that I am leaving at 7:30. I have a work commitment that I could not get out of, and so I must leave at 7:30.
All right, well, let's try and expedite this as best we can for Jason. We'll try and keep him involved as much as we can. Citizens.
I have something I'd like to say.
All right.
Pardon me while I take my glasses off to read. It is with sincere regret that I was forced into making the decision to resign from my position with the Borough of Mount Jewett as Ordinance Enforcement Officer. Please know that as the first individual to be in this position, I spent a great deal of time researching and seeking resources to ensure that I was doing the best possible service to our community in this capacity. Over time, I created a system of data collection and developed a step-by-step method in accordance to the rules of due process. Over the past 2 years, I established working relationships with several organizations, government agencies, the District Magistrate's Office, and the Pennsylvania State Police. They all knew that any information I shared with them had value, and I felt respected in my position. Sadly, that respect for my position and for me as an employee of the Mount Jewett Borough was barely recognizable amongst most of the borough's elected officials. Without divulging too much of my personal reasons, I was prompted by the borough manager to make the personnel chair and president of council aware that I was going to need to be away from the office for a couple of weeks in September. The borough manager stated that she was okay with it, but preferred that I let them know so that she wouldn't get yelled at. Subsequently, the first of the two individuals I came in contact with completely shut me down and dismissed me before I could fully explain what I had going on at home. I later that same day shared my disappointment in his reaction with the borough manager. I shared that I felt that it was moot to even approach anyone else with this because the council president would see to it that all would agree with his position. I was not wrong. I was in fact forced to make the personal decision to resign from my position. On August 25th, I submitted my brief but formal letter of resignation. The final paragraph of my submission, as quoted, I am open to discussion either individually or in a group meeting. In fact, no discussion ever occurred, with me at least. I overheard the vice president of council sharing with the maintenance department my business without ever having talked to me. The personnel chair opted out by sending me a cell phone text message saying that the time for discussion was prior to the tender of my resignation. Subsequently, on August 29th, my resignation was not only accepted, but became effective immediately. I had worked 2 4-hour shifts of my 2 weeks' notice and was then dismissed upon review of my ordinance officer equipment issued by the borough. The armored vest that I was gifted from COESF was to be collected before I could receive my final pay. I was awarded this piece of equipment by an organization that had collected donations from other agencies, other code enforcement officers across the country, and from families and loved ones of enforcement officers who had been injured or killed in the line of duty. I was one of the first to receive this life-saving gift based on my experiences and my employer's lack of ability to provide such safety equipment. I was somewhat mocked or made fun of for having this vest by the very council who claimed it as borough property. I admit that the writing had been on the wall for my separation from this position, at least since the end of June. The details for which these feelings became overpowering will not be divulged in this venue. However, you must be made aware that at the very core of my being, I am convinced that there exists a bully pulpit, veiled and outward phobias, and abuse of power within the Mount Jewett Borough. I am aware that these are very serious accusations that are warranted and proven. There must be more effort made by the citizens of this community to become active and make some overdue changes within our Borough Council. Clearly, how council members are appointed to their chair positions ought to be better critiqued. Side note, Jacob Curcio is my son. Using the term offspring to veil your prejudice is noted, Mr. Personnel Chair. Also noted is the slander from the Vice President of this council that occurred in public and had been reported. Any negative recourse to my statements will be considered hostile and retaliatory. How so much of my personal life had become an importance in your discussion about me is concerning. I find your actions egregious and unwarranted. With that, I will dismiss myself with grace and dignity.
Can I have that? Yes, sir.
Any other public comment?
I submitted two reports, one from the library and one from the Mount Jewett Hilltop Heritage. If there are any questions, I am here to address those.
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
Okay.
For the gazebo at the library.
Yes.
If the library I'm sorry, I'm looking for a pen because mine went dead. Sorry. I got one, okay. If the library gets the grant for the gazebo, which I hope you do, will the library take over all the maintenance of the gazebo, or is that gonna fall back on the borough once it needs maintenance on it?
Looking at the gazebo that I was eyeing, it's a 30-year, so I would have to definitely look at and see what is the general upkeep to ensure that 30-year warranty. So I would assume that the library could take it on to a certain degree.
When you talk to your board about this, could we get a letter from them saying that they would take over the maintenance for that?
Yeah, we can definitely address that up to probably a certain extent. Like, I don't expect my board to get up and re-shingle after 30 years.
No, but I meant, but have the money to pay, have it
Okay,
redone.
yeah, yeah. We
Okay.
can definitely do that, Trevor. That would be an investment on our part to
Right,
ensure
exactly.
that it withstands.
Yes, that's,
Yeah,
thank you.
In her initial grant proposal, she did state that ongoing maintenance would be managed through fundraising and additional grant
Okay.
searching through the library. So she, at least in that documentation,
Right.
took ownership of that responsibility.
Well, that's, I was just double checking,
Yeah.
just trying to keep everything straight in my head.
Also, a reminder related to her notes, this weekend is the fall hall. As of right now, the decision appears to be the Tom Davis lot. The front part of it that doesn't have piles of sand and rocks and whatever. For the existing vendors, it's a smaller event than in the past. So we're gonna keep it down here, and then Center Street's not being, obviously hasn't been touched yet. So, and the bus is coming here, so we're just gonna kind of stay in this area. We're not gonna look to close the street, so we'll keep it safe.
Do you wanna take some parking slots, or?
How do you get?
Well, I mean, there's a couple parking areas. We had talked before that it would be all right if you put a couple parking areas here in front of the borough building. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
needed.
That would be good probably for the bus as well.
And we might be able to have some cones out here, like a
Yeah.
designated parking area, or back here, whatever benefits.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
I think just the major thing is making sure that bus can turn around and have room for people. Like, I don't impact them either. But yeah, that would be a great.
Or talk about, I mean, we might have a couple cones you would just walk off around the poles and then turn around,
Yeah.
or something, because we used to have no parking sign, but since we redid it, we have to put it up. We had stated at the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, that if you needed to use Center Street without closing it, you had the entirety of the borough parking lot.
Right. So,
Fine.
okay.
So,
Yeah, parking there, and then just for the visibility of 6, we're trying to keep the
Oh,
numbers up
that
there.
makes sense.
Ryan.
thank you.
Kelly, I'd like to, you had in there about the voting, whatever it's called there out of step board that comes around, checks everything for the election board.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in contact with Patty Kiesler and Megan Ingram about the thing, because of that being taken out front, you know, that was too steep. I explained to him that the state wouldn't allow us to put that back in because it was too steep, it was above the 2% grade that you're allowed. And, so I explained to her, like Kesey's driveway, they could get access, a wheelchair onto it there, or right below where you go into the fire department. And she told me that they chose, to have people park in the fire department parking lot and wheel up around to the back of it.
And with that, they have mats, the voter registration lady has mats they've used before that they can, because there is no concrete from the parking
Right.
spot to that. It's just, imagining people having to come through Kesey's yard or driveway or up this hill. So they imagine that those mats, and I think that will kind of show us if those work, that maybe if we have a concrete continuation of that sidewalk in the back to the parking, that might be something that this could be more of a permanent resolution rather than the temporary for this one to get through it. And totally understandable about the ADA compliant, we just weren't aware of the changes of that project part, and we were just concerned they had moved on down the sidewalk, and we were like, where's our lip pad? So,
Yeah, it was something
And
that
it's
just
totally
blew my
understandable.
mind, because
yeah.
when I saw that in there, they were, you know, we couldn't put it back in, I thought, the state's the one that put those in there. They're the ones that paid to have that all put in, and, you know, and then now
Do you
we're
know
not
how
allowed
long
to put
ago
it
they
back
did
in.
that?
Actually, I think that was a county thing. I
I
think
thought that was
a
the state.
I think it was
When
a
they, cause they
CBD
did
grant.
that, I thought they did that when they did all the,
Shouldn't they have the same
the
standards?
corners of the streets.
It was CBD, I think, when they did,
Before I was here.
yeah.
I do know modifications to the ADA compliancy for curbs and whatnot has changed within the last 5 years, so that's been in the last.
It was before that.
Those were done before I was here. you know.
It's just sad, because it's an ugly situation no matter where they
That
park.
ramp wasn't there. When we started having meetings at the library, that was there. This Paul used to come walking across this, from the floor, come feed.
Says it when time flies when you
I'm
get
telling
it.
you, been done since '05.
So we are hoping that the maps kind of show us maybe another alternative that might work more for more of our adults that have that issue, because I can only imagine people trying to wheel up that hill.
Okay. Do you have anything else that needs to be addressed?
Report?
I thank you. Yes.
Okay, I got several questions here. Lori said, the ordinance officer, that in her last paragraph, she was open for discussion. Why didn't anybody discuss with her?
We will not be discussing personnel issues, period. Anything
And
in regards to that matter will not be discussed by this council.
what about the vest? Who does the vest belong to?
Anything in regards to personnel issue will not be discussed in this meeting.
Okay, in response to her offspring in public, and she's accusing, Council,
Anything in
is there any
regards
response to that?
her, anything in regards to her statement or personnel issue will not be discussed in public at this meeting.
okay, that's all my questions.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything else citizens wishing to address?
I think Sunday we're gonna go down to Fall Hall. Does the borough wanna be represented a little bit?
Brandon, you had indicated you might be available.
Yeah.
Paul, is that the?
Or not the Fall Hall,
Bridge
the
Fest.
Kinzer
Bridge
Bridge,
Fest,
sorry.
Yeah, the Bridge Fest. Yeah, I'm gonna be there Saturday.
Okay.
These two are gonna be running around, getting the fall hall. And then Hill, you're gonna be there Sunday.
I'm planning to be there Sunday. However, I don't want it to look like I'm trying to bombard with just Hilltop Heritage. As you guys know, I do try to represent all
I'm gonna go down
organizations.
Sunday as well, they can certainly go down as
And then-
council.
Mary Ann had reached out and she wanted to make sure that there was a good representation, and I feel that our Robin being there, Brianna being there, it's not just Hilltop Heritage Coalition. And as you guys know, I vouch for Mount Jewett, not,
Right, right.
I think it'll be fun, and we'll have Students Festival sweatshirts, so Students Fest will be there too.
so we'll have definitely, and I am behind the ball on reaching out to all my organizations about if they have anything to throw out there, free stuff. I do have that one little weird trifle of the whole, history of Mount Jewett. But I do know there's two versions of that, so I have the yellow version if that means anything to anybody. I don't know what the difference is between the two, so don't ask me. I'm still new around here,
But
I guess.
if like, you have anything for Boy Scouts, paperwork or anything you would want to have there for people to be aware of, you can get it to us before then, or anything else.
If I could, well, if I can.
If the borough has anything with that.
Just
And that
have-
could easily be, we
Just have
meet
as
on
much information as we
Thursdays.
can about what
Yeah.
Jewett got going on.
And I could easily just do that as make, what I've been trying to work on is a community calendar, so people know when our organizations do meet. I can easily do that for at least, this is our monthly, our library meets, our, you know, auxiliary. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent.
To let them know that we are active community, they may not see what we do behind the scenes, but we are doing things, and more than welcome to have more people show up, so. She is opening that up, and I don't know if I put that in there, and I apologize for taking more time. She is opening that up to Hamlin as well, since the big Bridge Fest does happen in the Hamlin Township. Mount Jewett is just, part of that as well. So, and we will be right by the visitor center, so hopefully for anybody that volunteers, we're gonna be close to a bathroom. That's my goal.
I appreciate you guys, you know, volunteering your time to go out there. I have stuff going on this weekend, I can't make it, but, I'm glad that you're willing to, and, the Hilltop Heritage, the Rotary, you guys, the library, you all wear many hats, so it's not just Pearl, because we're pretty boring, and people don't like me anyway, so. Think about me there.
I'll do a red costume.
Huh? You wear it,
Oh
but,
my God,
you might want that
private
dress.
costume requirement. What should I wear on Sunday?
All
How do I
right.
represent Mount Jewett?
I've seen your costume.
Yeah, one time. All right, sounds good. Let's move on. Madam Mayor, what do you got?
I would like to formally thank the Swedish Festival Committee. It was a great festival this year. I realize we haven't met since the festival happened, which seems like forever ago, but, congratulations to the committee. It was a fabulous festival. I think things went relatively smoothly. Thank you to the fire police for all of their work. We had a long meeting on Saturday to talk about next year's festival, so I think some of the things with fire police and such, I feel like we have a better sense of how that will all unfold next year. And the sign for Slow Down Not will be in on Friday, so Tom, maybe we could coordinate to get that hung up. It's the same size, I got from cousin, so it's the same size as the Swedish Fest banner, so.
Right, yeah, Clark, Jerry Clarkson would be the other one.
Okay.
I mean, you were the size one for that?
Yeah, it's the same exact size, yeah, when I called him, it's blue and yellow too, so it kind of looks like Swedish Fest, not Jewett. I have a picture, I can send it to you now, if anyone wants to see it before Friday, but, if everyone's okay with that, we're gonna get that hung up. And I talked with Kelly about it's, Child Cancer Awareness Month, so I'm doing a fundraiser for Joshua Eastman, I know there's one for, another little girl in town that's going around. Piper, yes, okay, thank you. And we're gonna try to put a box potentially at the library to collect some items for those families to distribute down at Pittsburgh Children's. So, keep an eye out for that. You know, probably just make a Facebook post about it, but, otherwise, that's all.
Okay. Motion to accept the mayor's report.
Question,
Question?
the size of the banner again.
I don't know the exact dimensions.
He did, Cousins didn't do the one that goes across the street, he did the ones that.
Like that hanging on the building, on the front of the
building.
stage.
Oh, well, I'm confident.
Yeah,
Confirm,
because
because
you
I
probably
said
need
that
a
to
longer.
hang, when I said the hanging dimensions, like across the road, yeah. So he,
Because Jerry Clark did the one
The other one?
that go across the street, yeah, the ones that we have on the building are probably too short, or too deep to
Yeah.
hang on the street.
Just call them,
I'll
make sure
just
it's,
figure it out.
make sure it's like.
Yeah,
It might make it.
50 feet.
Well,
Yeah.
it's gotta be at least 15 feet in the air.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, the cable that I hang off of is plenty high enough, the other one, I think it might just make it down to it. so
Okay,
it might-
well, just,
it might
let's just
still
Yeah,
make
make
yeah,
it.
okay, I didn't realize they had done the other one, sorry, I thought they did
Yeah.
Get hold of it.
Anyways, I'll figure it
all
out.
right, motion to accept.
Laura, make- Second, all in favor?
All right.
All right, we have a maintenance report attached.
Right on the, all right, I know everybody got in their box about the four out there, that Rhino line, or, you know, that does that, vinyl lining pouring. I mean, I know it looks like, you know, steep, 9,000 something. Jason, you have in front of you, what was the?
$9,437.50.
I think it would be a great investment if you think about the amount of paint he buys every year, scraping, or, you know, pressure wash it down, doing everything that he,
Out here.
yeah, out here. I know there's a section out there that has to be cut out and repatched, because he said otherwise,
That was another $1,000.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
that's on here.
included.
Well, coating, removal, and repairs not to exceed $1,000, so it could come in under.
Oh, okay, so that's included in.
It is included in that total letter.
Yeah.
Is this just the main room or is it the second room too?
No, just the main. And just for thought, I mean, I think, I told Barb, I think we need to put, I'd bring it up tonight, but I think it needs to be put in to possibly start putting it into the budget, whether we do it for, you know, in the next year's budgeting, or put maybe so much of it within a couple of years to have it done. But I think it's well worth trying to do something with that floor.
What's the lifespan?
So I know, I didn't ask him what the lifespan was, I know it, he said that the guy told him that, I asked him to make sure he checked like salt coming out of the truck when they have the sand salt mixed on there. He said that will not affect it, that, anything off the road won't affect it. He said the only thing that it won't guarantee is, if you're welding in there, sparks coming off your welds.
So diesel will only throw it?
No, he said gasoline and stuff like that will not,
Do you know how much we're currently spending on maintenance on that floor, like annually?
You really have to
On
put in
average,
how much the salary, paint, I'm
Right.
assuming now closer to $50 a
Well, I
gallon.
know,
Right.
no, this year it was like 70.
$70 in paint.
and how
Yeah.
many gallons
Plus-
did he
yeah,
use?
okay.
It was three.
They used 4, I think.
Yeah, so it's a couple $100 a year, not including time. I don't disagree with Tom, I just think, you know, maybe it's a 2 or 3 year capital improvement building
Yeah,
account.
I'm not saying it has to be done in 2023, I'm not saying that.
Is there a
But I just-
possibility there's a grant somewhere for that?
Right, could be, but I mean, I think we should at least start off,
The problem with grants in a borough building,
We give grants to everybody else because it's our headquarters.
it's your building to take care of. They don't normally give grants to municipal buildings. That's why we had to quit having the meetings at the library and we had them down here in the garage, because they would have lost their ability to get any grants or CBE funding if we were using their building for our borough meetings, because municipalities are supposed to take care of their own buildings and their own.
Back in the day, this was the water office.
Yeah.
So we
Right.
had our meetings, and
That's
they got
like
our
bogus.
council back in the
It's
library.
like big time bogus,
The Rhino.
especially when you're talking about small boroughs.
We don't care.
The Rhino flooring is worth the money, but it's not totally maintenance free. There will still be costs involved to clean it, but it won't be anywhere near as what we're putting out for now. I think for longevity, I think it's a good plan. I've
Well,
seen
and
it.
I kind of agree with Frank, it'd be nice to know, like, if they can give us a sense of the lifespan on it.
It's probably would be geared towards volume of traffic, I would think.
Sure.
You know, you take somebody,
I just wanna make sure it's gonna be a better value in the long run.
yeah.
It feels like it is.
I agree.
I feel like it is, but.
You got a pretty good idea of the budget this year, and I don't think it's happening this year, but.
No, I think we're plenty years
No,
away
but
from
to
this.
save for it, like he said.
Right,
I think we can look into it.
But if we could even cut away about $2,000 a year towards this or something.
right, I mean, you know, yeah, if there's some place we could come up, find some money to do that, it'd be great, but I think we need to try to
Well, I
somehow incorporate it into our budget from within, I would say 2 to 3 years to try to be able to do it.
I'd also talked to Rick about this, and just, you throw this out there, this might be more of a 5-year to 6-year project. Concrete's pretty bad, drain's bad, our heating out there sucks. Maybe at some point in time, we jackhammer it out, put heated floors in, and do it right once. You know, this building's been here since 61. So, I mean, if we put $5,000 a year for the next 5 years and do some upgrades, because that boiler's 10 years old, we put this one in, it's terrible heating. If we're we're gonna do it and put that in old form, maybe we think about jackhammering out, or at least pulling some of it out. And I was thinking if we need to redo that section, we really do need to think about putting money into this building. The roof, the furnace, and this floor are the only things that we've done. Oh, I'm sorry, we got a heater out there on the back wall since I've been here, that's 17 years. And it's like pulling hen's teeth to get anything done. We need to realize that it's an older building, and we're gonna need a new hot water tank, that's been in since '61.
Oh, don't jinx it.
I'm telling you, it's an old glass line, but.
And looking at,
But I'm just saying.
and looking at traffic, Brett, and wear and tear, we're probably not gonna get as much life on a vinyl liner out here as some. Heath Cousins has a big portion of his garage, and so does Myers Trucking, but it's not in their traffic area, their heavy equipment. You take the volume of salt and sand and the scraping of the plows going in and out, we're probably not gonna get as long a lifespan as some others. We'd probably be on the low end of the lifespan.
I think we put some money into budgeting for building maintenance and research it. A good couple $1,000s every year for the next
I
couple
mean, if we're looking 5 years down the road, we could put together a planning committee for the building
Yeah.
with this proposal and other proposals, and to really just come up with a good plan that we can then start saving.
Because that roof's like 10 years old now, so we need to start thinking about. Yeah, I don't disagree.
10 years
We
already.
do, you know, you brought the roof up, I was gonna bring that
Goes
up.
fast.
I remember us talking
When
about it.
I, had my bucket truck out here hanging the festival sign on the side of the building, that rubber strip where they join together, the piece of rubber up there, it's starting to roll back and it's not adhered to the rubber roofing. I don't know if we need to get, I'm not even sure who does that or who did that when we designed.
Taylor?
Roofing.
Maybe
I
to
believe-
see if they would call them, see if they'd be willing to come up and see what would have to be done to put that rubber strip back across between the two of them.
We better do it now, get it looked at, because if they don't get here till October, November, it's gonna be covered in snow, and then we're gonna have floor problems and ceiling problems.
Right.
Okay.
Just regarding, if there are grants, that a 501c3 can apply for and can gift it to, I don't know if that's ever allowed or anything, but if there ever is a grant that you find that needs to be a 501c3, we can definitely talk to it, through the Hilltop Heritage Coalition and utilize our 501c3 for that, because they are for, again, non-Jews, so that helps our borough building, keep, and that way your budgets aren't as impacted. I'm not saying it can happen, but you know what, we're willing to try, so don't shy against those kinds of things, if there's a way we can work around it.
I appreciate that. All right, motion to accept minutes for
I'll make the motion.
Steve. All in favor? Carries. Rules and code enforcement report.
I just want to confirm, I know we've talked about it kind of casually, that any ongoing current ordinance issues that are happening are being picked up by Bart to be resolved, carried through. If there's things about going before the magistrate, whatever ongoing issues, we have a plan in place to address those so they don't fall by the wayside in the meantime.
Let's discuss that. Years ago, Barbara handled sending the letters and dealing with some of our code enforcement stuff. It was also part of her, she was the water secretary, the sewer secretary, the borough secretary, code enforcement before she was borough manager, but still doing that job. So in talking with some of the council people, it was approached that for at least the short term, and maybe till the start of the year, until we get the budget time and start talking about where we are and what we want to do moving forward with code enforcement, that Barbara could handle the day-to-day operations and any outlying letters, because somebody has to, or they just go away, any ongoing and any court cases. Does anybody have a problem with that moving forward until we get the end of the year, let personnel and council as a whole
So she's
decide?
just gonna close everything out that needs to be closed out.
Try and close out, what needs to be closed out.
She's not gonna be expected to be driving around, checking people's yards, or,
To my knowledge, no, right now, unless an issue,
That somebody calls her.
well, no, I'm just thinking, you know, she's still recovering and,
yeah, as part of her job, no, I can't see it. the way things used to be as far as, and it kinda got out of hand, I won't say out of hand, but it got, the position took on a little more. I got a call today in regards to offense and zoning. That got lumped in with
I took care of
code
it.
enforcement. You sent you the issue, okay. Somebody needs to go out and inspect it. That used to be dealt with by a committee. You know what I mean? I used to go out and hold the tape and inspect stuff. And that was just kind of assumed. So we need to decide who's dealing with what. But if there is an issue that is able to be seen by the road, I would expect Barb to be able to hop in her car and go out and take a peek for now. But we are getting into the slow time of the year. We get
I did talk to Barb myself, and she said she'd be more willing to ride out, and look at something if it needs looked at.
Especially if there's been a complaint.
Right,
Well,
right.
I feel like that she's more responsive as opposed to out looking to see what's out there,
Right.
Yeah.
at least for the time being.
And if we decide as a council that we want to interview and do whatever we gotta do, that's fine. Maybe just,
So Barb would tend to be more reactive than proactive, is that the right?
That seems to be, for the time being, that would be the case.
Okay.
So that at least we have a
I can
response
take
as
a
a
ride
board.
around town, you know,
Yeah.
a couple times a week and see what's going on.
Do you deliver pizza?
Yeah. I
you used to.
Darn it! We came too late.
When Bix and Pizza were here, I did it
Oh,
in the
no.
evenings after I got done here.
So, and for the time being, and then we can have a discussion as a council as to where we want to move with the position and what we want to do and everything else.
Probably needs to be spelled out more direct, what their job is.
And how we want to deal with it.
Yeah, you'll take care of this, you'll take care of this, you'll take care of this. This is not your job, you know, a real job description.
Huh?
Well, let the mayor deal with some more, and then we work.
Yeah, but I was just saying, like, Barb, if you want, like, if you wanna write up a letter or something, and you want me to send it to the people, I'm happy to do that too. Whatever you need help with, because, like I said, I just recommend this to you.
Well, there is that's a valid point, but the mayor is supposed to be dealing with a lot of the code stuff as well, so between the two of you for now, working together,
No,
because
you don't have to
before we
send
had
it,
code
like-
work, you did a lot of it. Before
So
you
I
were
know you're
mayor,
working with a lot of people to be the good guy, so if you want
be a bad
People
guy.
don't
cop,
like me
bad cop.
anyway, so it's not.
Well, between the two of you for now
yeah, but if
until,
you want, if you need help or
You
anything.
can be bad cop, bad cop.
until we get there, yeah, that'd be great. All right, Jason,
Okay,
you
she's-
got,
I have to-
you got a roll?
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
Jason.
if she's gonna be taking on more
No,
for
I'm
code
good.
enforcement, I would say let's.
Okay.
Kind of leave that one
compensate
alone for now.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I
with
know
that.
where she was going with it, and I'm good.
I don't disagree if that's the way we move forward with it.
Right.
Right,
But
right.
until we decide, you know,
Okay.
I don't wanna see us giving somebody X amount an hour and then 2 months from now go, well, we're going this way, so, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
But once we get,
I get
after
it.
the first year, if we decide this is how the department's moving,
Right,
we go that way, or we go back the other way, you know what I mean?
okay, yeah.
I motion we accept the ordinance officer report.
I'll second it.
Chuck, Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any, like, bodies that we notify, like, the Jews or code enforcement, or anything like that?
No, she was a POTAC. I don't know if that needs to be, yeah. Barbara?
Okay. I gave everybody a packet on the junior council people person. You guys will need to pass a resolution if you wanna do it. The state ethics commission come in, and so don't panic if you guys get something in the mail saying that you missed something on your form, because they come in to look over the forms. And they do have like a couple that you have to check a box, or, okay, so you might be getting a letter from them saying that you have to check a box or fix it, and then you guys have been through this before. And then I just-
Last time they were here, I didn't say
Yeah.
something.
Then you just email it to them. On the 23rd of September, I'll be going to Smethport for the day. They're having a class on subdivision and land development. It's a workshop, so everybody's doing everything the same, which to me is great because I've really never had any training with it. It's kind of on the September 24th from 1 to 3, I'm going to Smethport again. for DOTS grant system training. That's how we'll get our county aid from now on. It'll be all computerized. And I received the $4,500 from Seneca Resources for the speed signs. I just want your okay to go ahead and order them.
Need a motion to it?
Yeah, price, but
All right, you want a motion?
Motion to go ahead and move forward, ordering the street sign.
Chris Carter.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Barb, on this land development, would that entail training on, like the fiasco we ended up with on Slugas on how much
Yeah.
dirt?
yeah,
If you could come away with some definitive,
right.
that would be
Even a
fine.
subdivision, because I've only ever done one since I've been here. And, you know, they have orders that you have to do everything, and I've done one, but they like practically talked me through it because I wasn't really sure where to go with it.
Okay.
Motion for the manager's report. Pierre,
Second.
Clark. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. No corrections or additions to the minutes, so we approved as presented. Treasurer's report, and payment of bills.
I'll make a motion to accept the financial statement and payment of bills. Second.
Motion been made by Chris, seconded by Robin. All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Committee reports. Maintenance, streets and buildings.
Yeah, I talked to Barbie and Rick today as far as, my Eagle Scout or Eagle candidate, to work on this project up at the park. When I asked Barb as far as the pavilion up there, if it was rented or not, 'cause I'd like to pick up the lumber, it's gonna go up into the ceiling. I'd like to be able to store it underneath it. And she said there was nobody had anything down, so I'm gonna, if somebody wanted to use it around the wood pile, that's fine, but I just need some place to have it stored to get it up there. And then I talked to Rick and asked him if he would get the paint for the swing set and, the, monkey bars, whatever they call them. And he's gonna do that this week for me, because, so he can be, you know, when he has a nice day, he can get up and go on. And then he asked me what color, I told him it didn't matter to me. I mean, if somebody has something they're looking for, you better let them know, because I told them to pick something. If I have a problem, you know, if you have something that you think you wanna see, you know, if you want hot pink like Brian's fence up
No,
there.
I don't think we want to make them black though, because the kids will burn their hands on
I think they're dark blue,
You know,
they're dark blue now.
them. Sun,
Yeah.
Gray,
towards all the
whatever.
teeth. You don't want the little ones to hurt their hands.
Okay.
Well, just tell Rick, he's gonna get it down at cost. I asked him to get, Rust-Oleum
Okay,
metal paint.
Okay.
It's got a primer in it, that if there's still some rust on the piping.
Yeah.
It seals it or something in, so
Yeah, it works better. Everything else?
that's all I have on.
Still waiting on the paving. They'll do it whenever it is that it's.
oh, have you talked to them? 'Cause I hadn't heard it. Okay,
Sure, it'll be done by October 15th
I
because.
thought that's what the date
That's the
was.
deadline, so.
okay.
Chris, finance
I don't
insurance.
have anything right now.
Okay. Personnel, Chuck,
I suppose we should go to an executive session.
you wanna do that at the end, or you wanna do it now?
That's your call, you got the gavel.
Why don't we do it at the end, Brad will do this stuff. and then we
All right.
do it at the end. Community development, park planning,
There's just a meeting Thursday at 6 for a work session here at the Borough Building.
glad you mentioned it. Okay.
Otherwise, I don't think there's anything else.
Frank, we'll talk about your park plan.
Yeah.
Fire department, anybody have anything? I don't think they have anything.
No, Jason would have been
Yeah, Jason, okay, library, pretty well addressed that. sewer, still flowing.
Oh, do you wanna talk about that?
We got it now.
Oh, I have it on new business,
Yeah,
sorry.
Bike racks, we did get a email from Carolyn about possibly putting in for some.
Yeah, I actually, like, I told her that,
It's a business
I
owner,
said to her,
right?
well, and I said to her, I thought we were gonna wait on this, and she said she was just forwarding information she got. But basically, that's gonna be up to the land, or the
Yeah, I mean,
property
and
owner.
if we have a spot on one of our borough properties, we only have
Right.
really one on Main Street other than the library, which has one.
Right.
Coffee shop or someplace if they want one.
Right.
It's not ours, but prefer that they be movable, so.
The coalition, they talked at one point of
What?
some bike racks or whatever.
It was through Carolyn, we didn't know how many she was going to do, based on the sidewalk and stuff, so we were willing to make that our next project, but we are looking to purchase even more of the benches, so.
And I
Again,
know Connie Carlson had mentioned she was gonna have one built, a bike rack there. But whoever she was talking with, the price of the piping and stuff was so expensive, she just said, no, I can't do it now.
All right, well, I mean, the only concern I have from a borough standpoint is that hopefully they're movable for snow removal purposes. If they're not, it's fine, but they need to understand we do that as a courtesy, we don't have to. So if I can't, we can't move it.
We have to
Yeah,
make
you
sure
can-
the walkway is
Yeah,
blocked in any way, shape, or form.
36-inch ADA compliancy. Most of the sidewalks are all right. Council person program, we get people that are interested and they want to do it. We have the information. Hold on.
Do we need to pass a resolution first before we find a candidate?
Do we have that said resolution, Barbara?
Yeah, I have it here.
Do we want to have a motion to pass that resolution, or everybody want to look at it, or what?
I'll make a motion.
Chuck makes a motion. Robin seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. We received a letter from Hamlin Township regarding their sewer and their interest in Mount Jewett Regional Sewer Authority and Borough of Mount Jewett taking it over, possibly looking into taking it over. It's important for everybody to understand that the sewer authority can choose to take this over. However, the guarantor of the loan in this is the Borough of Mount Jewett. We are basically the co-signer on all of their financial endeavors. If they decide to take out $1 million or $5 million MedVest loan, if everybody on the board just decides to resign, Borough of Mount, that's the Borough of Mount Jewett. It falls back on us because we created the authority. So if the sewer authority was 100% in on it, it still needs to be reviewed and finally approved by the Borough of Mount Jewett because we are the guarantor. And I'm pretty sure even when the sewer or the water authority wanted to get these larger loans, we had to guarantee it because we have to guarantee it. It's basically, we're the co-signer on all. My opinion that it's a decent idea, but I think it needs to be looked into.
I would propose that we form an exploratory committee made up of representatives from the township, the sewer authority, borough council. And I would even go so far as to recommend and suggest that our mayor be the chair of that exploratory committee. This, of course, would be a non-binding recommendation that they would review the facts and figures, whether it's a plus or a minus, and come back with a recommendation that this is a good plan, this is not a good plan for thus and such reason. I think that before we make any decision on it, plus or minus, we need to exercise due diligence. And so that would be my suggestion as an exploratory committee.
I spoke with the chairman of the Hamlin Township Board, and I spoke with Jim, and obviously we had spoke about the exploratory committee, and he didn't see the necessity of Hamlin being on it, we can reach out and ask, but just because this is relative to Mount Jewett, they're divesting, we will be taking over. We obviously have to have all the information from them, as far as their loans and figures and this and that, but whether it's a good idea for us doesn't necessarily coincide with them, but as far as having dialogue as to the committee meeting, yeah, when it comes to the best interest of the borough of Mount Jewett, I don't know that Hamlin needs to be involved with that.
I disagree from the standpoint that if information is needed, if nothing else, perhaps the township secretary treasurer could be involved, could sit in on it and have all the facts and figures. Otherwise, you're asking questions and then you're going back to them and then you're coming back and you're asking clarification. If you don't think that the supervisors themselves need to be seated at the table, I would suggest.
Well, I think for dialogue, they definitely need to be involved in it, but
Yeah.
as far as for our own research into, is it good for the borough of Mount Jewett? I mean, I think that needs to be a committee with sewer board members and
Yeah,
mayor and
but I
council
understand
members.
what Chuck's saying as far as, you know, okay, this loan that they have out on this, you know, can we take it over? Can, you know, I mean, and that's something that could be answered maybe at that point when they're.
Well, that's what I'd like to see our committee get a list together of, what are the questions that we need to know? And then take it to the Hamlin Township Committee, you know what I mean, as far as whether it's all their supervisors, because if we get more than one of them, we gotta have a advertisement.
It's a quorum, I
It's a quorum.
understand. That's what I thought. I thought maybe one supervisor and their secretary and treasurer would suffice, but, I mean, I see your point to some degree, but I also know that you need to have
All the parties need to be involved, but just purely from an investigation purpose for the borough of Mount Jewett, I think it needs to be the borough of Mount Jewett's people deciding what's good for us. Working with them is a totally, I mean, we need to work with them, and I think it behooves everybody if we work together. But I think when it comes to, because there's questions, when we divested of the water, there had to be a appraisal of our system. There had to be some engineering done. There was a book. Now, because it's municipality to municipality, do we need to do that? We need to speak to our attorney. There's a lot of questions that need to be asked, other than financially is it good for us? What do we have to do if we indeed want to do this? So I agree, I'd like to set a borough committee to do this, appoint it, and then ask Hamlin to be a member, and then the mayor run it and set meetings as you see fit, as the committee sees fit. I think Hamlin's input needs to be there, correct? But as far as making any decisions, whether it's good for us, I think that's us decision.
Well, but, yeah, I mean, no decision can be made, it's just a recommendation to come back to the sewer authority in the borough as far as any formal decisions.
Well, absolutely.
However you wanna play it, I mean, if you're gonna appoint the committee, it's the balls in your court.
Well,
I just
does
laid it
anybody
out.
disagree that a committee is the best way to look at this, non-binding? We'll reach out to Hamlin, see if they have a member that would like to be involved in their secretary. It might involve some afternoon meetings, or they're just informational. I appoint committees, so I'd like to see, Chuck, are you interested? You think you have time?
Schedule might be an issue, but I'll try.
Chris, financial? All right, as far as sewer authority goes, their chairperson and Barbara, you're on it, you're on the sewer board.
Yeah.
You and Ernie, Madam Mayor, you run it, keep out of it.
Obviously, this is not going to be a quick,
No,
this is a long-term project.
the big thing is, and just because this is a committee, this is to keep it from quorums and having these meetings where we have to schedule every little thing. I think council as a whole needs to come up with a list to send to that committee, what do we need to know? You know what I mean, because when we went through the water, you know, there was just so many different things. Maybe it's as simple as, here, sign here, it's yours, because we're municipal, but I doubt that, because it's PennFest, there's a lot of stuff. And even if we decided it was a good idea, we wanted to do it, I couldn't see it happening for 6 months to a year, because it's just.
Because it was a hostile takeover, it had a lot of volatility too, you know, and things were a lot more difficult than they could have been.
So, all right, well, there's that. You get that stuff, we'll just hang out, you know, it goes. Mr. Cofer, we'll talk about that. Communication facility. Okay, quickly, I called this company because it was a weird email. And they were looking at our property and they want 150 foot by 150 foot square area. Put up a cell phone tower with access, and it's no lease, they would pay X amount of dollars for this area. I don't believe at the borough lot we have 150 foot by 150 foot. We've never had it surveyed, but just looking at what we know to be ours, I don't think we have it, and we would be able to.
What about where the salt shed is?
Tear that down. That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
We would have to tear it all down and move it to someplace else. What they were approved to offer for said 150 foot by 150 foot is $25,000. So it's like, we were there, but we put quite a bit of money into that salt shed. That's a good chunk. But they said they're looking for any property within a half a mile of this general area that whatever provider, they didn't say whether it's AT&T or Singular, or what, they didn't say. And it's in the very incipient stages of it, but they asked if we would be willing to work with them. I said, well, as a borough of Mount Jewett, there's certain restrictions that have to happen, but there could be variances if it didn't bother anything. I can't see where we would say no on the face of it. There's some places, for instance, in commercial areas, which all of, from Fuller Street all the way up to Howard Drilling is, industrial. It's already industrial. They could go there, there's nothing we can do with it. It's some quarry. Obviously, we don't see a 300-foot tower in somebody's backyard and upset people, but if it works and gets us better cell phone coverage, I see. So they're gonna reach back out, but I don't think it meets us. They wanna reach out to other people. I did kind of think about the community park in the back and looked at the map, and I didn't realize how far to the north we own. There's a large wooded area that it appears to be on. I'd have to find the pins, and if there's a 100-foot area that didn't take into our current park, maybe that's something where it could benefit us and put 25,000 towards the park fund, but I don't know. I don't know if there's even enough space up there. We'd have to find it and see if we really want that in our park, so.
Well, they can make it look like a tree now.
But yeah, it's kind of now.
Maybe
It's
take
a
a
really
look
big
at
redwood.
A palm tree, we could have a palm tree back there.
Not very big. It's just, we don't have a lot of
There's
space.
one in my backyard, I just put it back.
That's what I say, I'll live in the tower.
Yeah.
But, so I just told them that I bring it up for a meeting, and then after I thought about it, I went down there and looked like, I don't think we've got it down here, unfortunately. It's that been a good area, it's really not up against anybody, it's up against railroad tracks, but it's, but they're, whoever owns the property next door. So, if we hear something, it might come across, we need to approve that. Okay, trick or treat. Last couple of years, we've decided to do it on 31st, which would be Monday. And I believe we were doing 6:30 to 7, an hour and a half. After the
What time?
Rotary Parade, which is usually at 5, and then we go an hour and a half. Was it an hour? Every year, it's an hour or an hour and a
I
half?
think it was like 5:30 to 6.
That's an hour and a half, that's what I was saying.
What's that?
Trick or treat. 5:30 to 7 last year.
6 or 7.
I thought it was 6 to 7:30.
6 to 7:30, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's enough time, because the parade's from 5 to
Yeah.
5:30, and then they start after, because there's trunk or treat too. So, everybody gets done with the thing, goes to trunk or treat, and by 6 or 6, 7, yeah, I think, right. Anybody have a problem with those times?
Nope.
All right.
6 to 7:30, 31st.
Great. Let's go to executive session.
Honey, I'm gonna go to the pharmacy section, use the phone, and then with the carpenter.
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna,
Hence, why
Madam
I'm
Mayor,
in the
Madam
tower.
Mayor.
instead of all you people leaving, why don't Kelly and I leave?
As I said,
This is true.
Yeah, if you guys are leaving.
Yeah,
that
it's
sets
silly
us-
for us
that
to
sets us
stay.
going. Somebody get Robin.
Robin!
Gotta have a camera.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, keep the camera.
Yeah, you have to stop the camera.
have a great night.
Yep, you too.
Okay.
These are on outdoor sit
Right.